Explain the following functions of a language by Michael Halliday. First, instrumental. The instrumental functions of language refers to when language is used to fulfill a need, such as requiring food, drink, or comfort. For examples, phrases such as I want, can I have, and I need are all examples of instrumental language. When a child is thirsty, they might say something like, I want bottle. If the carer gives them the bottle, then their needs have been met through their use of language. Next is regulatory. The regulatory functions of language when a speaker commands, persuades, or requests something from someone else. This is known as a regulatory language functions. Regulatory language controls the listener's behavior. The speaker adopts a commanding tone. Examples include, you need to finish that work by tomorrow, so get on with it. Next is interactional. This function is how we form relationship with others as it encompasses the communicative use of language. It is how we relay our thoughts and emotions, strengthening bonds with those around us. Interactional language examples include phrases like I love you, mom, or thank you so much, revealing the emotions and opinions of the speaker. Next is personal. This function defines how we refer to ourselves and express our personal opinions, our identity, and our feelings. A child may communicate their opinions and emotions in a simplistic way, using phrases like me good or me happy. As well as expressing personal opinions and emotions, the personal functions of language also encompasses how we use language to learn more about our surroundings. Next is heuristic. This term refers to language associated with discovery and explanation, usually in the form of questions or a running commentary when the child talks about what they are doing as they are doing it. For example, a lot of children talk to themselves when they are younger. Some people still do this as adults to explain what they are doing to themselves. This helps them understand their actions in relation to the world around them. Next is imaginative. When children tell stories and create imaginary friends or concepts in their heads, it is an imaginative way of using language. Imaginative language usually occurs in leisure or play scenarios. Remember when you were a child playing in the playground, did you and your friend imagine you were somewhere else, such as in a house or a spaceship? Children do this to make games more interesting. They adapt suitable characters to act out with their friends. For example, if you pretend you are in space, you remove yourself from the playground and environment and into a fantasy world, much more exciting. Next is informative, similar to heuristic and personal functions. Representational language occurs when we request information. However, it differs from heuristic and personal functions as it also refers to when we relay information. In other words, it describes the exchange of information between two or more people. Explain the following theories of the origin of language. First is the Bow Wow theory. According to this theory, language began when our ancestors started imitating the natural sounds around them. The first speech was onomatopoeic, marked by echoic words such as moo, meow, splash, kaku, and bang. Next is the poo-poo theory. This theory holds that speech began with interjections, spontaneous cries of pain, ouch, surprise, oh, and other emotions, yabba dabba doo. Next is the ding-dong theory. This theory, favored by Plato and Pythagoras, maintains that speech arose in response to the essential qualities of objects in the environment. The original sounds people made were supposedly in harmony with the world around them. Next is the Yo-He-Ho theory. According to this theory, language evolved from the grunts, groans, and snorts evoked by heavy physical labor. And next is the Lala theory or sing-song theory. The Danish linguist Otto Jespersen suggested that language may have developed from sounds associated with love, play, and especially song. And next is the Tata theory. Language began as an unconscious vocal imitations of these movements, like the way a child mouth will move when they use scissors, or my tongue sticks out when I try to play the guitar. This evolved into the popular idea that language may have derived from gestures. Next is the oral gesture source. It suggests that the evolution of sounds involves a connections between physical gestures and orally produced sounds. Most of our physical gestures are means of communications. Even with the ability of speech, we frequently use our hands, face, and body to express certain emotions and intentions. Glossogenetics. When these humans could stand on their two legs, their larynx, a speech organ behind Adam's apple in the human throat, changed in a way to allow humans to produce vowel and consonant sounds in human languages. Human language developed as a result of this evolutionary change. Next is the psychological adaptation. Unlike human beings, no other species can use language because other animals have a very different psychology than human beings. Modern human beings have vocal tract for speaking. Human mouth is small, which makes it easier to open and close for fast speech production. Explain the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, also known as the linguistic relativity hypothesis, refers to the proposal that the particular language one speaks influences the way one thinks about reality. Linguistic relativity stands in close relation to semiotic level concerns with the general relations of language and thought, and to discourse level concerns with how patterns of language used in cultural contexts can affect thought. Linguistic relativity is distinguished both from simple linguistic diversity and from strict linguistic determinism. The long history of the hypothesis is sketched with an emphasis on the hierarchical formulations, characteristic of most early efforts. This is followed by a description of the work of Sapir and Whorf, which departs markedly from this earlier tradition and has been influential in the contemporary period. Hence, the associations of their names with the issue, Whorf's basic argument about analogical influences is outlined in some detail. Despite widespread interest, quality empirical research has been in short supply. Recent efforts to remedy this are described. The research is divided into structure-centered, domain-centered, and behavior-centered types, depending on their manner of approaching the problem. The contemporary period has seen a rapid improvement in the quality of some of these efforts. Current trends likely to characterize future research are briefly characterized. Give the meanings of the following. First, semiotics. Semiotics is the study of sign processes, which are any activity, conduct, or process that involves signs, where a sign is defined as anything that communicates something, usually called a meaning, to the sign's interpreter. Icon. A person or thing widely admired especially for having great influence or significance in a particular sphere. Symbol. A mark or character used as a conventional representation of an object, function, or process. The letter or letters standing for a chemical element for a character in musical notations. Next is index, an alphabetical list of names, subjects, etc., with references to the places where they occur, typically found at the end of a book. Next is ethnopoetics, a political linguistics and anthropological movement dealing with poetry written by or in the style of indigenous people. Differentiate between American Sign Language and Filipino Sign Language. American Sign Language is a complete natural language that has the same linguistic properties as spoken languages, with grammar that differs from English. American Sign Language is expressed by movements of the hands and face. It is the primary language of many North Americans who are deaf and hard to hearing and is used by some hearing people as well. Whereas Filipino Sign Language is a form of manual and visual communication used by the deaf and those who are unable to speak in the Philippines. This is a vocabulary of signs and symbols communicated through the use of the hands of a person trained in these skills, particularly those who cannot hear and the mute, but also includes those who serve as interpreters for this form of communication. That would be all. Thank you.